Hey guys, this is Amber from the Happy Caravan. I'm a mom of 10 kids and we live in New York City. And today I'm going to talk about homeschooling. I am a homeschool mama and I've been homeschooling for, oh my goodness, so long. So my oldest son is 21 and we started in kindergarten when he was 5. So not a math whiz, but I'm gonna guess that's 16 years. So anyway, I mean, I love homeschool. I think it's a great way to, like, oh man, it's more than just like learning. A lot of it's just like the philosophe d'être, which is like, in French, that means the philosophy of being, you know, instilling a love of learning in kids. Sometimes, I went to public school, sometimes school can beat it out of you, and I want the kids to love school. So I'm going to talk about our sponsor and then I'm going to get back into my regular curriculum. So this video is sponsored by Night Zookeeper. It is a full language arts curriculum and you can use it if you're homeschooling or even if your kids are going to school or whatever. It's always like a great supplement. A lot of times in school kids can just kind of get tossed about and you don't really know what's happening, and the loudest kid gets the most attention or whatever. And I love the Night Zookeeper because it allows like kind of this one-on-one interaction, but it's a game. So it's like there's speech boxes that come up, encourage creativity out of you, and it's like fun. It's like learning but fun. And probably the thing that I've seen that I absolutely love is that the things that drive me crazy that I feel like I constantly say them. For instance, my daughter, sometimes Chloe, she'll have a hard time remembering to put a period at the end of a sentence, and there's feedback from the tutor in the online game / curriculum. It'll be like, hey, you forgot to put the period. This is for 6 to 12 years of age, which is right as they're learning to spell. It'll have like the kind of spell correct at the bottom if the kid gets the word close enough, and they can click the button, which for me is great because I mean I've learned a lot from spell check myself. It encourages storytelling for hesitant writers. Like some of my kids, they will sit down and write a story. Like I remember Elijah would just sit down and write a story. Some of my kids, it's like you ask them to write a story and it's like a deer in the headlights, and they're like, oh, like you just asked them to like kill somebody or something. They're so scared, you know, and I'm like, it's fine. And so I feel like it's like a sneaky way to get kids to be excited about writing a story. And then there's games, so there's like games in between, but this kind of keeps it up. Like there'll be like a word game, kind of rearranging really simple sentences in some of the word games, and then Chloe a little bit more complicated, and then Anna, who's 11, I mean, it's like complicated, really complicated sentences. It's a really fun way to learn language arts, and if you guys are interested, there's actually a link down below, and you can get a 7-day free trial, 50% off. It's a fun curriculum, so give it a try. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some of the other slightly more boring things we use for curriculum. And obviously we're Christians, we homeschool, so I have used some Christian homeschool materials in the past. For the most part, I do use just regular kind of everybody materials. I do kind of screen them a little bit before we bring them into the house, because like, you know, sometimes there's like different philosophical ideas, you know. I don't ever want to shield the kids though, because like my son's going to Manhattan School of Music, my daughter's going to Juilliard School. There's so much out there. I mean, just everywhere. So for us to be like, you know, act like we can live like the Amish, we can't. Some people can, but we can't. Not in New York City. So I don't use a lot of Christian curriculum, but I definitely supplement with a lot of Christian curriculum. So for instance, for my high schoolers, and some, no, I guess just high school, I'll just get, this is Holt McDougall, like a biology book. We do physics, like all those subjects they have to graduate and know what they need to know about the world. I just get them sometimes used off of Amazon. There's other suppliers. I think it's Rainbow Resource Center, where you can actually get public school-esque textbooks, which is hard to find. Here's the thing about a lot of curriculum I find, a lot of times of Christian curriculum and so forth, or even just stuff that's made for homeschool, a lot of times you will get a bazillion little workbooks. And we have 10 kids. Obviously 2 of them are in college, but you know, just having a bazillion little workbooks everywhere, whew, it drives me crazy, you know. So I just like having a big fat hardcover book. And the other thing about big fat hardcover books is you can pass them from kid to kid, and you don't have to like buy new curriculum every year or photocopy or whatever. So yes, big fat school-bound books. Same for history, particularly in high school years or middle school. We just, this is also Holt McDougall. I think they might have a partnership with Rainbow Resource Center, and you know, of course, you know, there's going to be some conflict with, you know, maybe something we believe philosophically and kind of their take on history or whatever, but our kids have to get used to it. I mean, that's life. So, and a lot of times it's good for the kids to see, okay, this is what something, you know, something said, and we can be like, hey, let's talk about this or whatever. It's open for discussion, which is great. And then it has like, you know, it just has like the study questions and all that stuff that was kind of boring when you were a kid. But I don't know. I mean, I think at home, you know, if you can inspire a love of learning, then learning about like, hey, let's learn about the samurai, or hey, let's learn about, and the other thing is we do live in New York City, and so we like to go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, which is basically like history land. I mean, it is like 5,000 years history. So like artifacts and all this stuff that's kind of like a little picture in a book. If you can go to a museum, a lot of cities, like even we were in San Diego, you know, they had the different museums there, like, or sometimes there's museum like exhibitions that will come to town, you know, even if it's not like a huge museum in your town. A lot of times there's one will come around. So I mean, it's worth it. Or going on a vacation, you know, to a place that has like, I remember when I was a kid, I lived in North Chicago, and we went to some of the museums in Chicago, and I feel like that impacted me for life. Like those museums, I don't know what they're all called, but around the Chicago area are amazing. And I think my love of learning really did not come from a classroom, but from trip to that museum. So museums, several of them. We went on lots of field trips. Okay, so that's the older kids. Now, for math, we do use an online curriculum for the older kids called Alex, and it's boring, but it's good. What it does is it has like a kind of feedback and so forth, and it has like it teaches you the math concepts and then checks them, which if you're a homeschool mama of a lot of kids, having a machine check the kids' math and say you're right or say you're wrong. It also goes back and makes sure that they get it right again, because math is one of those things you can learn it once and you forget it, so you gotta remember. Okay, so that's older kids math. These, I love these books. This is like up through middle school, if I can find them. 180 Days of Science for 5th grade. Now, you don't want to just do this for your science. You have to supplement with life, because a workbook is always going to be boring. But I feel like you can't just supplement with life, because there's little tidbits of things, you know, like how plants create food. Like, yeah, you can go out in the garden, but you know, you're not going to learn about like how glucose is stored and sunlight and chlorophyll and, you know, the oxygen release and all. I mean, this is all like kind of textbook stuff that when you go into the real world, you're like, oh, that's why the leaves are green, you know. So you have to do a bit of both. For younger grades, I love these Spectrum workbooks. There's spelling, subtraction. I mean, they have everything. They have math, reading, language arts, writing. We don't buy all of them. Phonics, sight words. You can workbook till the cows come home. And the kids don't love workbooks, but I do feel like they are a bit of a necessary evil. Like I talked about the sponsor of the video, the Night Zookeeper. That's a fun way to learn, but I also feel like, you know, when you're going to the store or whatever, and you know, you're like, okay, let's do a little extra learning, or you're on a road trip or something, and it's like a school day, you know, just having like, you know, let's break out the book, you know, and just something that you know, you can look over their shoulder and be like, hey, you know, pig, you know, all this stuff. So that's younger grades. And then there's something I have to go get. Hold on. Okay, so 180 Days Social Studies. This is also a really good one. Once again, supplement, you know, go and study life other places too, buy books, watch movies. But you know, this is a good base to make sure because you can't find a movie about everything. You could probably find a book about everything, but you probably wouldn't want to take the time to do that. So just little tidbits of history that really a kid should know. On May days, that's up through middle school again. Now, as far as learning to read, we used to use a curriculum called Sing, Spell, Read, and Write, but it's out of print. I ended up just kind of going crazy, and I spent, I think, like $300 on a workbook to get the Sing, Spell, Read, and Write, like this Raceway book or whatever. Anyway, so I kind of use that a little bit and like photocopy it, but oh my goodness, like why does something so good go out of print? But anyway, it's boring, but the kids learn how to read with it. So anyway, this is what we use instead. This is kind of the beginning book of Explode the Code. Now it starts off like preschool, like, let's see here, like just really simple stuff. And then it gets progressively, very slowly. Man, some of these workbooks, like if you get them at Walmart or something, like Learn to Read or whatever, oh my goodness, it's like, you start off like, this is the letter A, and like 3 pages later, you're like trying to spell the word bad. And I'm like, no, they need more time with that. They need more time before you move on. So anyway, this is a very slow but fun, and the art, oh, they're so artsy. It's like groovy. It's just like fun little hand-drawn looking art, which I love. I just like, no cheesiness. And then even like the Spectrum workbooks, up to grade 7, you can really basically get up to high school with some of the Spectrum stuff. And then for literature, yes, we do buy one of these. Once again, public school style. This is by Holt. Just one thing I like about a big old fat literature book is it's just all these kind of genres that you may not think to pick up at the library or buy for your house. And then this is really starting at like middle school, so not younger than that. There's writing prompts and stuff that, like, yeah, you could like dial up all this stuff online, but then once again, you have pieces of paper flying everywhere, and we have enough pieces of paper flying everywhere in our house. So it's nice, it's bound. I love bound books, sorry, not gonna lie. And that's pretty much it. And our kids do a lot of music, and music is cheating. So like for math and everything, it helps with everything. I just find that like things that I really struggled with as a kid, or even like getting up in front of people and talking or this or that, things that would be like speech, debate, all this stuff, like because you're used to like doing something that is like, music is kind of like putting your soul out there, and like you can kind of hide behind words and this and that, but like when it's just you and a violin, or just you, like it can be so terrifying. And so like it kind of makes everything else not so terrifying. So yeah, and also, just if you look at music, there's so much math, there's like fractions, and there's a lot going on there. And so yes, music, if you do have your kids do music, even if you're not planning on having them do it at all long term or whatever, you, I believe, will be definitely benefited in your kids' schooling. They will, particularly if you're a homeschool mom, you're going to see the results, and everything else is going to be a little bit easier. So music is, I think, a great supplement. And then there's physical education. We don't do a lot of like team sports or whatever, just because the time's like, oh wow, yeah. I think it would great. Like my in-laws, my brother and sister-in-law, they are like all team sports all the time, and track and soccer and all this stuff like all year long, and it's like several days a week for hours and hours every afternoon. And I think that's a great thing to do if you can. Our kids, I encourage them to like ride bikes, basketball, kind of at the local hoops, and there's any sport that they're like interested in. I guess for us, we're not just like, oh, I'm a soccer mom, or I'm a this mom, but our kids like a little bit of everything. So Josiah loves to run. He will run for hours. He just got a membership at the gym. We live in Harlem, so there's some big guys, you know, at the gym, and just I was like, wow, you know. So, you know, that's kind of his bent. Pearl loves to bike ride. She loves to walk. She loves to run. Not so much like the ball sports. Elijah, he loves to skateboard. He, like, thankfully there are 10 skate parks in New York City, and he goes to kind of merry-go-rounds around all of them. He even met Tony Hawk once at the skate park, which is super cool. He's kind of like an icon, you know. And then he likes basketball. He's all the sports. He loves all of them. So, you know, whenever he can, he does that. He loves going on bike rides. He just yeah, he's always been super coordinated, and he's our like kind of sportsman. But I'm always concerned with skateboarding because you can really hurt yourself skateboarding. Like a friend of mine who was in like body traction, I guess, from skateboarding going wrong. So you can get in trouble skateboarding. So I do make him wear a helmet and wrist guards and elbow pads, you know, just to try and keep his, you know, hands and everything safe, because he really enjoys music too. And then on down, you know, Naomi's really been enjoying, you know, going on bike rides. She and Noah will go on bike rides together. She's been running every morning. Just like, I'm not pushing any of this. I've always encouraged them to go and get exercise, but it's interesting just to see each kid kind of have their bent of what they enjoy doing. I mean, all the kids, they love just being active, and I think that's the primary thing. I mean, sports is basically just, you know, like an activity that's competitive, which I think that's great, you know, that kind of keeps you motivated. But I think just being active in general is like kind of a life skill that if you can do it more the better. And I mean, I found with me, sometimes I just it'll be hard for me to get out of the house. And so we live in a three-story house, and so I will just go up and down the stairs a bunch. Kind of extra, like I usually have there's always something to bring from the bottom floor to the top floor, but I'll just kind of do that more, and whoo, I am winded by the end of that. It's kind of like stair stepper. So, I mean, just keep it moving, you know, just encourage health, encourage movement, encourage blood flow, you know, just, yeah, so that's our PE. Okay guys, so one more thing. This is why we don't have a lot of storage space in our kitchen, because our kitchen is kind of full of books. So people are like, why don't you buy more at grocery hauls? Then you don't have to go shopping so much. I'm like, well, like all the top is also filled with books, but this is part of how we roll around here, because books are just really, really important. I've heard that the more books you have in your house, the higher your kid's IQ, like there's like correlation there. Could be a total false tale, but sorry, this one's more messy, but by all means, I mean, if you can get more books in your house, even if it's just from the library, that is a great way to encourage learning and encourage literacy too. And for art history lovers, we got this like TV thing, and I guess it's kind of looks like a frame, and you can put different art in there. So that way, like my kids are learning about art history that way. So yeah, there's lots of different things you can do. Right here you can see, so that was the Great Wave. And then there's other like artwork, and our kids have just been kind of going through here and like learning about art as they go. So that's a kind of a fun way to do things. Every little bit helps. Anyway, thanks for watching our video.